Let's stay with that story then. Earlier, I spoke with Jonathan Schanzer, Senior Vice President of the Foundation for Defence of Democracies. I began by asking how he thought Turkey was handling this case.
Well, it's an interesting thing that this happened in Turkey in the first place. The reason for that is that, of course, the Turks are the #1 jailers of journalists in the world, and they themselves have been guilty of illegal renditions over the last year as they've hunted down members of the Gulen movement. So they're not exactly the most credible people to talk about this case. Nevertheless, of course, this did take place in the consulate in Istanbul. They are defending their rights as a country. They don't want to see this sort of thing happen on their soil, nor do we, for that matter. So, but what's interesting about the Turks is that we've seen a lot of disinformation come out of their media. I would say probably half the stories don't exactly check out. In the meantime, the MIT, the intelligence services, are also not exactly trusted. So really, this is a thorny case for Western intelligence agencies as they try to get to the bottom of all of this.
Yeah, it's interesting you use that word disinformation because the picture is so convoluted, isn't it, coming out of Turkey. What do you think is going on behind the scenes? Some frantic game playing, I imagine.
Yeah, I would think so. Although, first I think it's important to note that the Saudis are on the other end of a battle with the Qataris. As we all know, there's a Gulf spat that's going on, and the Turks have sided with the Qataris. So, this explains perhaps some of the motivation for the disinformation and the acrimony that exists between these two countries. That said, I think neither country, not Saudi Arabia nor Turkey, has the stomach for an all-out war with one another, whether it be disinformation warfare, whether it be financial warfare. These are not the sorts of tensions that I think either country really has an appetite for. So we now understand that there is this new commission that's been stood up. This is the ladder for both countries to climb down should they wish to take it. I think really it's just going to be a matter of what the terms are for both leaders. And we have to remember here that Mohammed bin Salman is brash. I don't think he likes being told what to do, nor does Recep Tayyip Erdogan, the president of Turkey. So we're really putting two scorpions in a bottle here in the hopes that perhaps they find a way to climb down from this crisis.
As we just mentioned in our report there, the possibility coming out, a veiled threat coming out of Riyadh about oil exports. Does Saudi Arabia really have that kind of power anymore?
They do. I mean, they still sit, I think, on the largest proven oil reserves in the world. But also remember that this is very touchy timing for the United States. We are now set to rely on Saudi Arabia to make up for the delta, for the gap in oil production as we cut Iran off from the global economy. This is a core pillar of the Trump administration's foreign policy, and the Saudis have said that they were going to step up. Now, if they pull that because of the relationship with the United States, of course, right now things seem to be fine. But if things do get rocky, you can only imagine what that would do to the Trump foreign policy as it pertains to Iran.
Yeah, and President Trump is in a really tricky position with this, perhaps, why we're seeing such, I don't know, hesitant language from him in the last few days.
Yeah, I think that's right. And of course, we know that he has a good relationship with the Crown Prince and with the King. There was that famous picture of him with some of the other Arab leaders in Riyadh holding the so-called orb at the counterterrorism center. Again, Saudi Arabia is going to be crucial to the Iran policy here in Washington, but also we've been hearing rumors of the Saudis playing a key role in the Trump administration's peace process between the Palestinians and Israelis. And of course, Trump does not want to see the price of oil go up in this country, given the focus that he's had on the economy here domestically.
Jonathan Schanzer speaking to me earlier.